Hello, this is Miss Cliffner with your video from Friday. It was 7.3, the first lesson. I called it 7.3a, solving equations using multiplication or division. The essential question is, how can we use multiplication and division to solve an equation? And so I'm just going to go over the steps for solving equations again, right? I always want you to look at the variable side and do the opposite operations. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And then, of course, the last part is plug it in, plug it in. Okay, so this is in your notes. I just want you to think about inverse operations, right? It's the opposite operation, but the fancy math word is inverse. So the opposite of addition is a subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. And then we have the opposite of multiplication is division. And the opposite of division is multiplication. How about this as a challenge? What's the opposite of squaring? It would be square rooting. So for instance, if you take a number 10 and you square it, it equals 100. The square root of 100 equals 10. So you get back to where you started. It's an opposite operation. Okay, so here's an example of balance scale, and kind of like the hands-on equations that we did, you can see that there's two x's on this side. So my equation is 2x equals 8. So it just makes sense, right? If you think about 2 bags of gold equaling 8, then each bag by itself has to equal 4. And what we're doing mentally is dividing it in half. And so if I divide it so that I take off one bag, what I have left on the scale is 1 bag equals 4. So what we want to do with the math is we look at the side with the variable, we draw the balance scale. This is 2 bags, so I'm dividing it in half and dividing by 2. The 2 divided by 2 cancels out, it's just 1, and I get x equals 4. So my solution is x equals 4, and then I plug that into the equation like this. 2, but instead of x, I'm writing 4 equals 8, and I do the math, and I get 8 equals 8, and I go check. I got that solution correct. Okay, here's another example. What if there's 3 bags of gold equal to 1563? My equation would be 3x equals 15.63, and it's the same idea. If I have 3 bags that weigh this much, then I must divide it by 3 to figure out what 1 bag weighs. So I put my balance scale. I'm showing that I'm dividing both sides of the equation by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. That leaves me with x equals, I'm going to do some fancy mental math. 3 goes into 15 5 times. There's my decimal. 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 3 goes into 1 1 time. Okay, so here's my check. 3 times 5.21 equals, I'm just rewriting that equation. Now I'm going to do my long multiplication to make sure that I got the correct solution. 3, 6, 15, 2 decimal places. Yep, 15.63 equals 15.63. Check. Okay, so now I'm saying, well, what if we don't have the bag in front of us, right? But I understand the steps. I'm looking at the variable side. I'm trying to find the opposite operation. So here's my equation, 3 times p equals 4. I look at the side with the variable. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. I divide both sides by 3. It's a little bit of a fraction. P equals 4/3. And then I do this. Oh, that's right. How many times does 3 go into 4? It goes 1 time. I'm basically taking an improper fraction, right, and turning it into a mixed number. So I get P equals 1 1/3. Now for my check, I can go ahead and take that 4/3 and plug it in. It kind of makes my life easier. Okay, so this is kind of a weird one, right? But I'm going to show you in a different color. I took the 4/3 and I plugged it in place of P. So now, when I multiply across, I get 12 divided by 3, which of course is 4. So I end up with 4 equals 4, which is correct. Okay, So now I have an OYO. It's a little bit of a decimal. The steps are the same. Look at the side with the variable. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. I divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. X equals 7.2. I'm going to check it. 3 times 7.2 equals 21.6. And when I multiply, let's just go ahead and check my math this way. Here's my variable. All right. So every time you have a multiplication equation, you undo it by dividing. We're using the division property of equality. As long as you divide both sides by the same number, you get the correct answer. Okay, so again, here's another OYO. Go ahead and pause the video, try it yourself, check your work. There's the steps. Oh, that's the fancy steps. No, those aren't Ms. Flipner's words. There we go. Okay, I look at the side with the variable. The opposite of multiplying by 9 is dividing by 9. 9 equals R. I plug it into my check. 81 equals 9 times 9. Yep, 81 equals 81. Okay, so now how about this? Someone came along and divided the contents of the mystery bag equally among 4 people. Each person ends up with 3 gold bars. How many bars were originally in the bag? So this time you're taking that variable and you're dividing. Remember that fraction bar is our fancy division symbol. X divided by 4 equals 3. Okay, so now I'm picturing 4 people with 3 bars in front of them, right? So I'm picturing 3 times, plus 3 plus 3, right? So we're basically taking the 3 that they each have and multiplying it by the 4 people. And I'm going to do that with my equation. So I look at the side with the variable. Now here's what I'm going to do though. I'm going to start multiplication out on the left, because usually when you have an equation written like this, there's not enough room on the right hand side of the x divided by 4 to write in a 4. I don't want to squeeze it in. I don't want to make it messy. So I start building out from the equal sign. So I'm going to put my times 4 over here. It's a little bit weird, but notice I'm putting 4 over 1 because this side is a fraction. Over here on the right side, I don't have to put 4 over 1 because 3 is a whole number. So on this left side, I have 4 over 1 times x over 4. Remember, when you cross cancel or you simplify before you multiply, this makes my giant 1. It's just another way of saying 4 divided by 4. Or I'm saying there's a 4 in the numerator and a 4 in the denominator, and I can divide out that 4. That leaves me with x equals, 3 times 4 is 12. X equals 12. Now, when I check it, it's a little more, this is a easy one, right? I'm going to be plugging that into the original x. So I do 12 over 4 equals 3. And then I just do the math. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 equals 3. Okay, so the idea is whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. So if I multiply this equation by 2, and I multiply this equation, this side of the equation, this becomes 24 divided by 2. This side becomes 12. Well, wait a minute, 24 divided by 2 is 12. So you see, as long as I multiply both sides of the equation by the same number, I get the same answer. And again, notice over here, I did 2 over 1 because I have a fraction. Over here, I just multiplied by a whole number 2. Okay, here we go. You're going to want to rewrite equations that look like this to be in the fraction form, like that. Here's my steps again. Okay, so I look at this side. I'm actually going to erase that. Oops, didn't want to do that. There we go. Okay. Going to move this over, so I have w over 19 equals 9. Okay, so I multiply both sides of my equation by 19 because I'm looking at the variable side. The 19 and 19 cancel out. I get w equals, let's see, 19 times 9, 81. I get 171. And then when I do my check, I do 171 divided by 19 equals 9. It's okay to use a calculator to check this. And sometimes what I have my students do is I just have them put a check there, and then I have them put a little C to show me that they used a calculator. Okay. So there's just a couple more OYOs, and then the homework is a worksheet that you would have to get on Canvas. Okay, here we go. Put the balance scale, look at the side with the variable. The opposite of dividing by 15 is multiplying by 15. I put 15 over 1 on this side. I just put a whole number 15 over here. 15s cancel out. That's what we wanted to happen, right? We wanted to get t by itself. 15 times 5 is 75. And when I check it, I put the 75 back into the original equation. So it's 75 divided by 15 equals 5. I can use a calculator. 5 equals 5. Check. I'm going to put the little C. Okay, last one. Draw the balance scale. Look at the side with the variable. The opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. Multiply by 2. Over here, I get 18. This cancels out to 1. 18 equals H. I check it. 9 equals 18 divided by 2. Yes. 9 equals 9. Check. Okay. That's using multiplication and division to solve equations. Good luck.